I want to say something that I think many of us are too afraid to say out loud. I can't keep up with AI, at least not the way the internet insists I'm supposed to, and I'm sick of trying. We see so many tech bros, Silicon Valley executives, or billionaires with too much free time shouting from the rooftops about how much new and great stuff there is out there. Every morning there's a new model, a new tool, a new runtime, a new white paper I apparently already need to have read, a new reason for me to be behind in this new technological world. For a long time, I treated it as a discipline problem, like I didn't have enough discipline, attention, or focus to actually learn what I needed to know in software development. In my mind, if I just optimized harder, woke up earlier, or subscribed to the right 5 newsletters, I'd close the gap. I would get there, I would arrive, but I'm on my way to stopping believing that. I can't say I've stopped yet because I still think it's going to be a process. What I'm starting to realize is that this knowledge gap doesn't close. It feels manufactured, and it's actually a product being generated for us to consume. This feeling of being overwhelmed isn't a side effect of a fast-moving field, it's the thing that's being sold to us. So I'm starting to see that, and I stopped asking the question, how do I keep up? I'm turning it into a more uncomfortable question, one that I want you to think about as well. The thing I always think about when I'm nose deep in the latest agent loop, the newest white paper, or my newest side project is, what's actually getting my attention? And what am I missing as life happens around me? But before we start digging too much into that, let me show you that this feeling of being overwhelmed is real. Because I'm not here to tell you that it's just all in your head, because I don't think it is. The volume we're seeing of all this content, marketing material, lines of code, the latest fad, is not imaginary. It's becoming apparent that this acceleration is picking up too. Each week it seems there's a new tweet from some internet influencer hired by a frontier AI company that is incentivized to get people to sign up for some technological reason. If you spend any amount of time on Reddit, Twitter, or anyone else's highlight reel, you see them saying they have spent the last 14 hours of their life diving deep into some aspect of technology that you need to know. And you can achieve that too if you only spend the next 14 hours doing the same exact thing and use their playbook. We're also seeing new benchmarks being created just to peddle certain AI models. We've seen creative uses of normal line charts to make certain models look better psychologically rather than empirically. The example that immediately comes to mind is Cursor's bench. They generated a chart using their benchmark and put Composer, their own AI model, in the top right, which any rational human skimming a chart like that would see and think, oh, up and to the right? That's the best. In fact, they reversed the x-axis to show Composer in the top right rather than the top left, which would not necessarily be a good thing for people who are skimming what the chart actually says. Cursor oriented the axis so that the cheap option lands where our eyes already expect to find the winner, in the top right. Now, of course, Cursor's not fudging any numbers, but most people would expect the x-axis to start at 0. Beyond benchmarks being created willy-nilly, we start to see these benchmarks that were designed to be reliable and sustainable for years, saturated within months. Just from these new AI models coming out and blowing the benchmarks out of the water. The numbers have lost all meaning here. And for content being generated, the floodgates have been opened with new papers coming out with large increases year over year. In October 2024, there were 24,000 new submissions to arXiv. The first month ever with over 20,000 submissions was May 2023. arXiv saw another 30,000 new papers submitted in June 2026, this year. Another new record. All-time submissions of papers to arXiv just crossed over 3 million in June 2026. That's impossible to keep up with. So what's feeding the content engine? It's the frontier AI companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, etc., with all of their releases. Then there are the content creators, like me, who are creating more content and newsletters telling you what those releases mean. And then there are the vendors who are selling the tools to help manage the feeling of being overwhelmed that this field has created, whether it be harnesses or agents or other productivity software. So this fire hose is real. There are literal buttloads of content being spewed right at us. And now we need to ask, why us? And who benefits? Before we do, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also consider becoming a member on YouTube or Patreon to gain early access to my videos. Your support makes these videos possible. Thank you. Now let's get back to it. We can attribute this acceleration, the fire hose of data, to not just one company, but to an entire ecosystem. This ecosystem is dependent on and incentivized by the level of our attention. We've been in the attention economy for a long time. That's why YouTube is so popular, why TikTok and other social media platforms became so popular, because they're all fighting for your attention and will do anything to keep and hold on to it. So we're just seeing the next evolution of that through companies that are rolling out fast-paced changes. They're incentivized to keep your attention because that's how they get money. Most of these AI companies are not public yet. They rely on private funding, venture capital, or other private investors to pay salaries. To continue improving their product, they need that money to come in so they can keep growing. The only way to get that money is to get you signed up and hooked to the model, generating as much revenue as possible per user. So a slow quarter for OpenAI may actually be the doom of OpenAI, which means they need to have this perception of relentless growth, a momentum that never wanes. To make matters worse, in this attention economy, content creators like me, I'm calling out the irony in that statement, are all monetized by urgency. Titling something you're falling behind is one of the most reliable ways to get a click. And I'm not trying to make a scientific claim here. I'm calling out what I see in myself. It's a survival mechanism to not want to be lacking in any regard, because if you're lacking in one area, that may be the one area where you can be exploited and taken down. And that feeling drives urgency, and urgency leads to impulsive behavior. And there's no easier person to get money from than one who is impulsive. And what are we being sold as the cure-all for this need to stay up to date, or this need to have the latest and the greatest? Well, we're being sold another subscription, another newsletter, another advertising avenue. I can tell you that nobody in this supply chain profits from you or me feeling calm and current. Everyone profits from you feeling behind. Which brings me to the part I actually want to argue. This fire hose of content and data is unmanageable by design, and it's not costing us our skills, though that can be part of it. We've seen studies show that our skill level, thought process, and cognition decrease the more we rely on LLMs and AI without critical thought. Microsoft has done research on this with Carnegie Mellon, and MIT has as well. But it goes beyond our skills. What this is costing us is our presence. It's costing us time with our friends, with our families, with our communities. It's costing us the very part of us that distinguishes us from the machines. It takes away the thing that makes us human, because while we are nose deep in our latest side hustle, while we're nose deep in the project we've been working on for weeks, life is passing us by. Our family is growing, our communities are changing, and the world passes us by as we try to keep up with the newest AI fad. We just treat keeping up as a survival skill. I mentioned earlier that this is one part of it. Keeping up seems like something that would help us survive better in the current world. We might get a promotion, earn a raise from our knowledge, and grow personally and professionally. But this survival skill is manufactured. It's a structural gap, not a personal deficiency. You are not deficient. This is simply a part of a system that seeks to extract dollars from your wallet or from your employer's wallet. So it's not truly survivability. No tool, no blog post, no newsletter or set of newsletters is going to close that gap that is engineered to stay open. The companies are incentivized to keep it open. It's easy to see this as just a line item in our budget, but it's so much more than that. It's not just consuming our money, it's consuming our time, and our time is finite. We don't have unlimited time on this earth. Our time is a fixed account that funds our relationships, our health, our kids, and our community. If we slow down and think about this a bit, we realize that the things that need us present are never going to move at the speed of this fire hose. I don't know about you, but my marriage doesn't ship a new version every Tuesday. My dogs aren't currently in their beta phase. Their being slow is the whole point of them. There's beauty in the slow. And here's where the tension starts to build, because I'm a developer, and part of my job is to use this stuff. Maybe you're in a role where part of your job is to use this stuff. So how do we balance the need to use this stuff with the inability to keep up with it? Don't. You were never meant to in the first place. First of all, keeping up conflates two different things. There's the awareness, or knowing that a thing exists, and then the capability, using the thing well. What we're being sold is awareness, and it's awareness at rapid speed. The rapid speed lets you believe that you're losing capability, but if we're honest, awareness is cheap. It's infinite, yet it expires in days. Another good example here is the vast amounts of content that are just being thrown up online across YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Content is cheaper to create now more than it has ever been. It's not something today where whole teams of writers and producers are needed to make decent quality content. And if we're honest, a lot of this awareness generation content is either assisted or generated wholesale by AI anyway. On the other hand, capability is slow. Capability compounds. It takes time, but block after block it builds and builds. Much like our relationships, the return on our time invested in this is rarely ever linear. When you're just looking at awareness, you're seeing all of the small tweaks that AI companies are making to their models to sell to their investors. At this point in AI development, we haven't recently seen major breakthrough after major breakthrough, but what we've seen is minor optimization with major PR momentum. And don't get me wrong, there was a time where it was breakthrough after breakthrough, but we've been seeing the law of marginal returns in action for quite some time. Let's put it another way. Most of what looks like a revolution on the latest Tuesday release is actually just a new face on something you already understood. The fundamentals never changed, but how the AI company's PR team talks about it has. You can absolutely keep up with minimal awareness with a focus on capability. And I'm not telling you to bury your head in the sand and not keep up with the news. You're going to need to do that if you're going to stay current on what's happening. But capability should be the focus, not consumption of awareness materials. It seems that the despair that comes from this technological ecosystem we're in now comes from being graded against our ability to maintain a level of awareness that no human can or should keep up with. Stop trying to keep up in its literal sense can't work for everyone, and so I want to dig into that and take it seriously. There are some people whose whole job is staying current. There are researchers or founders racing to market who have chosen this life, or anyone else whose edge is being early. Me just saying stop trying to keep up can be misconstrued as permission to stagnate. Not that I don't think any high-octane researcher or early-stage founder is going to be listening to this advice at this point in the video. As with most things, I believe that the fundamentals are underrated and always incredibly important. The same is true for this new ecosystem we live in, where AI has become a reality, not a fantasy. Finding a balance in being capable in AI while maintaining some level of awareness in it may be misconstrued as complacency. But there is another camp of those who are just completely against any AI use that masquerade their view as wisdom. Yet, their view may be seen as rationalizing checking out. It's another fine line to walk. But keep in mind that the pace has gotten ridiculous. Whenever one AI company releases their flagship model, all the competitors do the same within days of each other. But even people who really need to be current don't need this vast amount of data or this vast amount of content at this incredible speed. What they really need, and what we all need, is a narrow, deep slice that touches our actual work, and then the discipline to ignore the rest. There is not one person on Earth who needs all of it. Your finite amount of time doesn't care about how legitimate your need to stay current is. The researcher's kid also isn't in beta, and neither is the founder's. And what we're looking at isn't really new. We've actually run into this exact pattern before. As I've hinted at throughout this video, this is manufactured urgency. None of it is real. This is a business model we've seen before, one that needs you to believe that missing a single day or a single paper or a single headline is catastrophic, when almost no single day is. We've seen this before in the advent of the 24-hour cable news networks. CNN launched on June 1st, 1980 as the first 24-hour news network. Their planned model ran on carriage fees plus advertising. That's revenue that depends on being carried by providers and watched by viewers, not on the day's news being important. This is not necessarily a confession, but it is an incentive. They need to keep people watching their network, so advertisers will spend money to reach their viewers, and providers would continue to carry the network. In 2010, the Columbia Journalism Review named the always-on news treadmill the hamster wheel. It was production driven by volume, not by thought. Looking at this today, we could say the same is true for this new AI treadmill. An always-on medium creates a structural incentive to inflate the felt urgency of each update, regardless of whether the substance is real. Some news is actually urgent and breaking. Some AI content is actually worth the read. But neither are incentivized by what's worthy. They're incentivized by what gets attention. And the best way to produce content that gets attention is to produce a lot of content. This fire hose of content is unmanageable, and it is that way by design. And the cost? The cost is so much more than just what's coming out of your wallet or your skill set. It's coming out of your finite, precious hours that can be spent living. The hours you spend frantically catching up on the things that won't matter by Friday are hours you will never get back. And they're coming out of that same finite account that's supposed to fund the relationships you have with people who actually need you in the room. The thing all of this awareness can't replace, the thing that's worth protecting, was never your ability to name the latest model or to point out what the newest capabilities are. It's that you were there, that you were present, that you were around for the slow, unscalable things. The things that last a lifetime. The marriage, the family, the friend in need, the version of you that exists when the laptop is closed. None of that ships on a release schedule. All of it is part of your life that no agent loop is going to live for you. So I'm going to commit to stop trying to keep up. At least I'm going to stop trying to keep up the way I've been trying to keep up. I think that's the most sane move I can make. And I think the people insisting otherwise just want to remove more money from your wallet. But I want to hear what you think, because I know this isn't simple. Where's your line between staying up to date and getting pulled under? Have you found something that is actually sustainable? Or are you listening to this video while switching between 5 newsletters and the latest Claude Code changelog and feeling guilty about it? Let me know what you think in the comments. Before I wrap this up, I wanted to give a quick shout out to all my Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, you too can support my channel and receive early access to my videos. The links to do that are in the description. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.